This 104,000 square foot facility was built in 2008 to serve as a crime lab for the city's police department. Now, this may sound surprising, but most of the people who work inside are civilians. Let's go see what they do.
There are so many different disciplines that, depending upon what somebody might want to do, they could get into fingerprinting, latent prints. They can be crime scene specialists out at scenes, but all of that does require a level of knowledge, science-based knowledge, because you're working with chemicals. You have to know what procedures to use in order to process the evidence correctly. So it's a very, the people that work here are very smart.
More than 140 highly trained scientists and analysts work around the clock to provide pertinent information for police about crimes they're solving. Professionals analyze more than 97,000 pieces of evidence each year. Everything starts here at the crime scene.
The crime scene response unit is comprised of what we call crime scene specialists. So whenever a crime occurs that requires their expertise, they will respond to the scene, and they have one shot at that crime scene. They have one shot to correctly collect the evidence, to process it using the correct chemicals, or to package it correctly, to bring it back to the lab for certain disciplines to analyze. So they are extremely important. All of the good work that is done here starts with that unit.
The crime scene is a very important aspect of an investigation. It's where the original crime occurred at. It's where a lot of the evidence that's going to lead to the identification of a suspect as well as the apprehension of that suspect. And it is also utilized in court purposes in order to convict that individual responsible for the crime.
When we respond out to crime scenes, we typically are looking for any type of physical or biological evidence. Physical, sometimes we can think the most obvious, like gun, knife, but there's also those little things. When we've gone into robberies where the suspect has eaten food out of the refrigerator. So maybe there's a half-eaten apple on the counter. We've taken that apple and swabbed the area that was bitten into by the suspect to possibly get any DNA from that area. So things like that, things that you wouldn't think that would be items of evidence, they really are good sources of evidence.
The crime scene specialists, they're kind of the tip of the sword, if you will. They actually go out and will start that investigation. All of our crime scene specialists are civilian personnel, and we've taken over a lot of the responsibilities that was the responsibility of detectives previously as we take over the scene investigations. This allows the detectives to focus more on the investigative part of what they need to do, trying to go out and hunt down leads, gather information as far as trying to apprehend the suspect. It leaves us the ability with our technical expertise to analyze the scene, determine what evidence needs to come back to the lab, and the analysis that needs to be done.
When we hear back that that fingerprint has provided a suspect, a possible suspect, and when it turns out that it is an actual suspect, that's very rewarding because you know that your hard work did in fact pay off.
Berrigan has been rolling out to hundreds of scenes and locations over the past 10 years she's been with the department.
Yes, the civilian staff here run this bureau. It is their bureau. This is their function. Without them, we would not be solving cases here. So the importance of the civilian staff here is, you can't even really put it into words, because you know, as I mentioned, if a detective makes an arrest across the street, it was the evidence that was processed here that made him do that or her do that.